to COVID. And you see, we don't want to remain in the history of reminding our children or our grandchildren what happened and how we lost a mother, how we lost a father because we did not take care of ourselves.
Right. That's interesting, but for the viewers that are watching us, remember the program is live on Ask Muvi, which is our Facebook page. And also, if you went to Africa Direction as well, Facebook account is also live. So you are not limited in terms of viewing or following this discussion. Remember that we need much of your participation and also your contribution, because above all, you are the main stakeholders that makes this kind of conversation. Yeah. Let's move on now. You've mentioned that I like each time you are conversating with young people. I think that's the reason why we decided to, on behalf of the people of Zambia, we've summoned you to come this evening and appear on this program.
I'm grateful.
Because you are dealing with, for lack of better words, a very stubborn, age group in this country. And these are the young people.
Yeah.
At a time when we are living in the COVID-19, and if you look at the 5 golden rules that have been given by the Minister of Health, again, quite difficult. And we want to find out really on how we can contain this pandemic and how young people are responding or complying, adhering to these measures that have been put in place. Yeah. Again, further to mention that, Mark, you were here at Muvi TV at some point. You are among the pioneers that greatly contributed to the growth of this institution where it is today. Yeah. And at some point, you decided to go into the NGO sector, where you are, working tirelessly day and night, working with young people. Yeah. Let's talk about African Direction that you are dealing with. What is it all about?
Well, first and foremost, before we get to what Africa Directions is, you've mentioned about this. We may not call it stubborn. We'll call it a dynamic population of society. Sure. They are dynamic in the sense that they face many different issues. This is an opportunity for exploration. This is an opportunity to try out things. This is an opportunity for them to try and see what is it that they're able to do. It's an opportunity when the society challenges them to really see what is it, who are they, you're trying to identify yourself and what your ambitions are, your career is. So it's quite
much
dynamic.
Of experience.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's quite a dynamic part of growth. So coming back to Africa Directions is a youth-focused organization, and like you said, Africa Directions was started 20 years ago now. We've been, as an organization, we started at community level and we've evolved with time. And with time, we've become a national organization, and right now we are running regional programs to try and contribute to youth development and also advance children and young people's rights in Africa. So what we are trying to do is basically see what is it that we can do, what role can we play as an organization to try and supplement on the efforts of governments, not just in Zambia, but also in Africa. So when we started the organization, we were quite ambitious. Our dreams, because I am one of the architects, we started, the 4 of us. And when we started, we were young people. I was 19 years old when we started, So we saw the negative vices, the many issues that are affecting young people. And we wanted to see, well, how can we contribute positively to change the mindset of our people at grassroots level, first starting from where we are coming from. And the ideas started from there, and we grew and evolved. The organization has evolved up to the level where now it is recognized regionally. So for us, that is something that we take pride on, because we know that by when we were starting, we had very few organizations that were running youth-led programs, and we were youth, and we are running youth-led programs, and we grew with it up to where we are. So now the organization focuses on 4 strategic areas. So we look at entrepreneurship trainings for young people. We also look at issues to do with governance, like you mentioned. We look at sexual and reproductive health. We also look at issues to do with children's rights. So all these, when you look at these areas of focus, they are interconnected. Let's take, for example, if we are talking to young people on issues to do with sexual reproductive health, we're talking about reducing early teenage pregnancy. What happens to a young person who is vulnerable, has no money, and you just go and tell them, give them information and say, you don't sleep around or use a condom and all that. But at the end of the day, if they are vulnerable and they are not empowered to begin to look at their life with an entrepreneurial mind, it means that they will still remain vulnerable and also susceptible to a number of diseases such as STIs and HIV. So our role is to empower young people, to ensure that young people have the capacity to really make informed decisions, and at the same time ensure that they participate also in the governance system of our country, because all these things that we are talking about border on governance. So we are trying to approach youth issues in a holistic approach, so we can try and see how we can, as an organization, supplement other stakeholders, including government, in addressing issues affecting young people.
Right. I don't know if you were too fast because maybe I might have missed your submission in that regard. And also maybe some of the young people that are watching you right now. What really prompted you to just come up with your colleagues to come up with this kind of an NGO? What were the pressing issues that really affected you? And then you thought, I think this has to be addressed.
Okay, so there were many pressing issues. When we started Africa Directions, at that time, HIV/AIDS was at a highest rate. You know, the prevalence rate of HIV was high, and there were so many programs targeting women and men, and there were few programs that were targeting youth. Okay, that was one. Two, we also saw that there was youth unemployment then as well. So we realized that some of us who were vulnerable and who grew up in vulnerable communities and did not complete university then, we also realized that we needed to do something that would be positive in our lives and use our talent to try and see how best we can meaningfully contribute to the development of the country. And then we also saw that there was a lack of recreation. Most of the activities that were going on in our communities were negative vices. You know, sex was a form of recreation, alcohol, lawlessness, as we have seen escalating even up to now. So we saw that there was this gap, so we thought there was need for us to create a space where young people can come, explore their skills, have access to recreation, use a space to interrogate, and also just try to make sure that we engage each other in finding solutions to the many problems that we were facing that time. So from Mutendere, we had, luckily we had a colleague, Evans Banda, who actually was running a tabloid then called Trendsetters. You know, he was a managing editor there. So when we met, we had like-minded ideas. So we sat and said, guys, we need to do something. And we were lucky that we were also given an opportunity by the Royal Netherlands Embassy, who gave us an opportunity to go for a cultural exchange program in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So what we did there, the people in Addis Ababa were so happy and they were excited about our work, and then they sent recommendations here in Lusaka. So the embassy engaged us again and said, you did a good job in Ethiopia, what else do you want to do, you know? And then we shared our ideas, and they did not trust us because we were still young. So they gave us a 4 months a project to run, to see if we were able to manage finances, manage ourselves. And in 4 months, they were so happy that we were able to manage ourselves because we grabbed the opportunity and we told ourselves, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. We mess up, we are gone. We organize ourselves, we will excel. And together, with the leadership of Evans, we said, we're not going to mess up. Let us try and hold this dearly. And we thanked God for it because God gave us an opportunity. So in 4 months, the embassy trusted us and gave us a 4 years contract. And that's how we were growing and evolving, and other partners were coming in. The UN was coming in. So we grew just like that and started building our own capacity, identifying our gaps. I had dropped out of school when we were starting AD, took myself back to school with the little money that I had. I never wanted to use the little money that I had to use it for alcohol and entertainment and all that. I realized that I was living with a single mother. I had no education, so whatever little that I had, I made sure that I invested it in education so that I can also get the education that I needed. Luckily, again, I got the exposure, you know, by the U.S. Embassy, because they appreciated the work that I did, and they also built my capacity by also giving me professional programs in the U.S., and that added on to my resume, and this is who I am right now. So why I'm saying this, because you said for the sake of the young people out there. So all I'm saying is because we know that majority of our young people think that life is easy. And majority of our young people think that politicians will give us all the solutions. You know, Zambia has changed governments before. The world has changed many governments before. So there are so many things, challenges that governments grapple with. And one of them is youth unemployment and also youth empowerment. But we must be able to believe in ourselves first as a people. You know, see what is it as young people, what is it that we can do so that when there's an enabling environment, that is why we put these leaders in office. When there's an enabling environment, then whatever ideas we have, whatever issues we have can thrive. But if the environment is not enabling, then we escalate the challenges that we are facing as young people.
That's quite interesting, Mr. Chilongu, because we are at a time when, you know, there are different leaders out there that, you know, knocking at our doors, asking for votes.
Yes.
You know, and the majority people that are about to cast their votes on August 12 are the young people.
Yes.
And this is an age group which you call a dynamic group of people that will be voting for these leaders that are aspiring to go to either state house or maybe parliament, Monday here as it is called, others maybe at the council, you know, just like that, you know. And for me, it's an issue where why should, because like you've mentioned, we've changed a lot of administrations. Can talk about 1991, people got fed up with the UNIP.
Yes.
They decided to bring in the MMD. There were different promises from the people in power that were defending the seat or the government, as well as others were coming from the opposition, you know, promising young people very sweet messages, you know, but when they came in, less, you know, achievements were done. Hence the reason why even today young people are still lamenting. They're still looking for jobs and the likes, you know. And with regards to mindset change as African Direction, how do you convince the young people in transforming their mindset that it's not about a politician who's going to come and maybe ask you to vote for them, who's going to perform miracles on your behalf or to perform miracles in your life? How do you transform that mindset?
Okay, so
I know that there are a lot of challenges that you face along the way.
Yes, they are. But as an organization, our role is to inform young people, give them information, build their capacity to begin to look at life in a different way. So we provide evidence to the young people. We do a lot of research. What are the statistics, what are the issues around economic, social, and environmental sector, so that they are informed around these things. Once they are informed and they have the capacity to understand, we also train them to ensure that they provide social accountability to the leaders, and also ensure that they participate in governance, in the governance of our country. So through our training, young people get informed, you know, and I must mention, Mr. Piri, that we reach out to over 120,000 young people annually as an organization. So what we do with these young people is to empower them with information, empower them with correct information, so that when they are making decisions, they are making decisions based on the information that they have. So they are making decisions on an informed position. So majority of our young people will not be cheated by maybe say slogans.
I see. So
you know, we will not be cheated by songs. Young people, our current generation of young people, I was mesmerized by the way that I spent 3 weeks in Kasama and realized in the villages, and realize that majority of the young people there have smartphones.
Right.
Okay? At phone ya kushila. You know, a touch screen. That's what they call it. Phone ya kushila. Phone ya kushila. You know, so you can imagine how much information they have, even when they are there. So we are building a generation. For us, we are complementing what every other stakeholder is doing by ensuring that we build a generation of young people who will make informed choices and decisions. So even when they are going to vote, we are sure that the young people we've worked with, they are not going to go into the booth and vote because somebody was singing a slogan. They will vote because they want to hear from you, first and foremost, how are you going to address issues to do with teen pregnancies in this country?
Sure.
How are you going to deal with issues to do with early marriages, exploitation, you know, child abuse, defilement, all these issues? How are you going to address them? Okay, we know that the laws are there, but what solutions are you coming with to try and enhance what you've already done if you are the government in power? And if you are the opposition, what is it that you're going to do that the government in power is not doing? And then young people will be able to analyze. When it comes to governance, how are you going to embrace young people to participate fully and meaningfully in the governance of our country? And we mean young people sitting around the table. And we're not talking about young people who are going to sit because you have a meeting and you want to show everyone that we had young people. We want young people who are going to sit around the table with substance so that when they are contributing, you are able to pick up the ideas, and those ideas might inform either policy, might inform budgetary allocation, might inform how you want to drive the economy, because you are getting the ideas from the young people. So this is a cluster of young people that we as Africa Directions are empowering. Young people who are listening, who are attentive, and when they go in the community to train other peers, they are telling young people how they should be able to scrutinize, because the decisions they make today will determine their future.
Sure.
So the decisions of voting whoever will be in power today will determine what their future outlook will be. So we are trying to empower young people in that sense, so that when young people are out there, they are actually looking and listening to the competitors in these coming elections. And we want to implore those young people, especially those of us who are bent on being used as tools for violence, because either we are lazy, you know, and these politicians will take advantage of you. Either you are vulnerable, you are broke, and because you want that 50 kwacha, you would want to do anything just for you to get a 50 kwacha. We have others that really flow with the wind because they don't know what they want in life. So we have this cluster of young people as well. So we want to encourage these young people and say, you will not get a 50 kwacha by killing your friend, by stabbing your friend, you know, by stoning your friend, and then get that 50 kwacha and make you proud. For me, if there's something that saddens me, if there's something that makes me feel sad about what is going on currently, it's the issue of how we have allowed violence to escalate to these levels.
Before we get to the political violence, I still want to probe you further with regards to the creational facilities that really, or the skills that you're offering to young people. And I know that for you to adequately offer these skills to the young people that will make them to become better citizens of this country, you need, you know, some recreational facilities or centers, if you wish, in which you have to operate from there, not even you, but even the young people, they have to begin to build those centers and the likes. But suffice to mention that we are in a country today where we've been told that there is a scarcity of land in this country. Whichever land you're going to see that this land maybe is dormant or doesn't have, you know, title deeds, the moment you just step there, you just see somebody coming out with papers. You know, not only that as well, I want to find out in terms of how vigorous as the government is in terms of protecting or securing these places, recreational facilities for young people, centers for young people. I can attest to you that I, for one, being in the newsroom, I've covered a number of stories, be it in Kabwata, be it in Kanyama, be it in Kakue, whichever place you want to talk about, mostly in these CBDs, where a center which is meant for the young people to be nurtured, or to be training from, you find that this facility is being sold to this foreign investor or whatever like that. How has it been from your side? Have you encountered such kind of, stories or maybe experiences?
Yes, and I think for us that's where even our main strength is, because we started as championing recreation for young people. And one of the things that we've observed, it's not the scarcity of land, it is the level of lawlessness that we've allowed in governance. Okay? The levels of lawlessness that we've allowed in governance, where people who are governing us, who are serving us, the citizens, us, the bosses, okay, because it is us who put them in power. Then when they get into those offices, they become kings, and they think us now as slaves. You know, what they do now, they'll go identify, say, council land, and sell it for their own benefits. We've seen that. With all the governments, we've seen that happen. Either sell it to an investor from somewhere at the expense of recreation. We have seen how land has been encroached by the so-called political cadres. A playground in Kanyama turned into houses or shops, you know. Most recently, just here in Kalikiriki, we've seen how the area, the only playground that was there, you see next to it where there is some space where you can either do netball, volleyball, or any other activity. There are shops there. Who gave them? We don't know. You see. And those are some of the things that we feel saddened about, because we see that some of our colleagues in politics go there for the purposes of enriching themselves and not serving the people who voted them into office. And we've observed that. We've observed, and we've been talking. We ran a project where we engaged more with Lusaka City Council, you know, and also ensuring that some of these areas are safeguarded for the purposes for which they were meant. Because IP, or innocent, let me tell you this. Can you imagine in Chalala there is no playground? The whole of Chalala, if I'm not mistaken, especially in my area where I come from, around Munyaule market, there is no playground, there is no space for young people to play. So what does that mean? Those who live in Chalala and they have money, they can afford to take their children to these recreational places where they can pay. But those who live in Chalala who do not have money, their children will either make a makeshift playground under the pole lines, and that is a risk to them, because if anything happens, then it means that young people will be electrocuted or something, and then we start saying, oh no, Boma Yanganepo or anything of that sort. But it is our colleagues, our professionals who are planning that area. You know, so some of these things really require an effort to engage different stakeholders when we are planning certain areas. And even these areas that we have, some of these existing, say in Kawata constituents, we are aware that there are places that are meant for recreational spaces that are still lying idle. Okay? What are we thinking about those? Okay, how can we build on those? How can we develop those areas so that young people do not use tujiri as a form of recreation? Young people do not use smoking, marijuana as a form of recreation. They do not use sex. They do not use alcohol places. They do not patronize bars at a tender age. So they will have a space where they can go and play and spend most of the time. And apart from just play, we can try and integrate these recreational spaces with skills building, information giving, ensuring that young people, when they get to that space, they are not just playing, but they're also leaving that place with some form of information. That way, we'll be building a generation of young people that will be responsible. But right now, because there are no recreational facilities, young people are subjected to these negative vices. And because they are subjected to these negative vices, that is the lawlessness we are seeing. And because the lawlessness are high, and the majority of these are young people, that is why we are seeing that those with money are taking advantage of these people who have embraced lawlessness by championing their own ego, their own pursuit to leadership.
We've remained with 9 years, if I'm correct, before the 2030 agenda of leaving no one behind.
Yeah.
And in that agenda, there's a lot of things that we have put on the table with regards to maybe realizing some of the goals we've lined up, and one of it is SDG number 3 that calls for the realization of health universal coverage to all Zambians. Let's talk about young people. Quality access to healthy among young people as well. I bring this because, Mr. Chilongu, we are into COVID-19 now.
Yes.
And you've spiced up this grouping for you. You are saying it's not a stubborn group, but you call it a dynamic, type of a group of individuals. How are they complying to? First of all, how is the access to quality health, services?
Okay, so I will focus more on sexual reproductive health because that is where our area is. And so when we talk about leaving no one behind around sexual reproductive health, we are saying, can we give young people adequate information? Can young people, when they go to the health facility, have access to the services? And when we talk about sexual reproductive health services, we are talking about commodities such as family planning. We are talking about commodities such as STI screening and medication around that. We're talking about HIV testing. We are also talking about information around gender-based violence. All this. Okay. And
how available are those things you are talking about, really?
So through our project called Transforming Lives Project, where we developed a mobile application as with support from SAFEDS and the Rhodes University. So this is a research-based mobile application. So it's a web-based application where we were trying to pilot this, and we are grateful to the Ministry of Health for giving us an opportunity to pilot this social accountability monitoring tool in 3 health facilities. So we were in Mutendere and Chileje level 1. Basically, this tool was meant to try and provide evidence, to the Ministry of Health, so that as we aligning policy to the new 8th development plan, we should also be informed of what are the latest happenings in terms of young people's access to services at health facilities. So we did this project, and it's coming to an end in June, and we have had information. Today we were actually sitting with the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders from the Ministry of General Education and also community members to share with them some data and information that came out of that mobile application. So this mobile application is where a young person would raise a ticket to have access to the service. Why? Because we also identified that as a country and as a region, we identified that there were a lot of barriers that were making young people not able to have access to these services. So barriers in terms of maybe say attitude towards young people when they are going to have access to the service, also availability of commodities like I mentioned at the health facility. If a young person is going to the clinic, are they able to find the service that they want, So all this, and sometimes there is a lot of politics that there is no evidence to show that these are issues that are coming from young people. So the mobile application helps a young person in that community in Mtendere to raise a ticket if they want to have access to the service. And when they raise a ticket, it goes to the administrator at the health facility, who is the sister in charge. So the sister in charge will have a look at that ticket and say, okay, this young person wants to have access to counseling services. Then the sister in charge will allocate that particular task to the profession in charge at the facility. So when the young person gets to the facility, they already know where they are supposed to go, who they are supposed to see, and when they are seen and they are attended to, then they will get back to the application to give feedback. Okay, whether the service they received was satisfactory or not, and whether there was confidentiality or not. And if there was no confidentiality, a young person will be able to say, oh, I went to this facility to access services around counseling, but there were 2 nurses seated there while I was being counseled. So already that is an issue that borders on confidentiality. So we will raise that as an advocacy issue. Then we begin to engage government and say, look, these are the issues that are going on, and can we address this? So issues to do with stockouts, for example, if there are no condoms, if there are no family planning services, we also raise those through the mobile application. So that is how we've been trying to to contribute in terms of providing social accountability to the Ministry of Health and government at large, so that they can try and see these gaps. And we've already developed a policy brief that will be shared with them, so that as we look forward, and because we are aware that there is already a team sitting to receive submissions on the 8th development plan. So that could be an opportunity to try and look at the outcome of this pilot project, and also pick up some of the things that we feel government should be able to put in the plan, and see how we can enhance young people's access to sexual and reproductive health services that would also contribute to universal health coverage, as you put it, and that would also ensure that we stick to the leaving no one behind theme.
Not really diverting you, but I want to squeeze in one question regarding the services, the Ministry of Health, for example, and also the services that it's offering to the general public, because these are matters of health, and we can't just ignore this issue, because you've also talked about issues to deal with condoms and among other services, that are supposed to be offered not only to a number of young people, but also even to a person like me and others that are watching the program. But there is a mistrust, a seemingly mistrust, which has been created between our Ministry of official, the Ministry of Health, or the government, as well as the general populace of this country. After that saga that happened over the issues to do with the honeybee, where we were supplied with the, expired drugs, as well as, condoms, among others. And looking at a young person is a person that is very sensitive. The moment you disturb that kind of, age group, it means you are gone as a nation. How much knowledge have you imparted or impacted into the young people again to regain that confidence? Or are they willing really to walk into maybe a health center and maybe acquire those services and the likes?
So those are some of the bottlenecks that we need to address, where we provide our people with quality services and also quality commodities. So that was a very sad state of affairs then, and we hope that that could be investigated more and see how best we can deal with that, because it borders on now how people make decisions. And it also reverses the strides that we've made in addressing some of these issues, such as HIV and STIs, because we now see people getting scared to use government commodities because they fear they might be expired and all that. So our role has been to try and encourage young people to go back to the health facilities, and also ensure that they check the type of commodities that they are getting, so that we do not demoralize the young people in terms of accessing these services. And also what we're trying to do is to encourage young people, because majority of our young people also feel some of these things are not for them until they happen to them. Even the issue of COVID, there's a lot of laxity among young people because they think it is for the elderly and all that. But we've seen where even government now has decided to even close schools, because there's been now a spread of COVID-19 among young people and children. So our role is just to basically supplement the efforts of what others are doing, government is doing, to sensitize and encourage young people. So what we have also done as an organization is to try and develop very short videos that we are trying to use, maybe WhatsApp groups and all that, to try and continue sensitizing our young people, and also making sure that young people can get to the health facility and have access to the services. That happened, and we know that measures were taken, but we will not stop by just saying, okay, because this happened, so we are not also going to do anything about it. Our role is to continuously encourage young people that they can still get to the health facility and have access to the services that they need, regardless of what happened with honeybees condoms.
Let's move on, Mr. Chilongu, to one critical issue again, once more, to deal with how we can manage the COVID-19 as a country in fighting this pandemic that has, damaged our sectors of economy in this country, not only in Zambia, but the general African continent, as well as the world at large. What message would you have to the people of Zambia as well as maybe to the parents, to these children you were speaking to, and also our, leaders in government.
Okay.
Before we get into another group that I call a stubborn group, of that of politicians as well.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah. So I understand you. But first and foremost, to the Zambian people, colleagues who are listening, who are watching us on social media, on Muvi TV, I want to encourage you to know that COVID-19 is real. Only until you take a step at the health facility, that's when you realize how bad this situation is right now. So if we don't take precautions, if we don't listen to our health experts, it will be the same way when people, because some of us who were part of, we witnessed how the HIV AIDS killed a number of people because they did not want to follow certain rules such as protection. And a lot of people died and left a number of people orphaned. So similarly, this can happen. And it can happen and also disturb our households. Imagine your breadwinner dies today due to COVID because you did not adhere to the rules, you did not adhere to the guidelines, and you took COVID home, and maybe your mother, your father has BP or any other disease that can make them more susceptible to contracting the virus, and they die because you are just not careful. You see, that will leave you and your siblings, and you'll be able now to face these economic hardships, So let's think of that in that way. Again, let's also think about COVID when we lose our loved ones, because one life lost is many lives lost. And we cannot allow something that we know. There are some people who are actually bringing unnecessary debates based on misinformation. Let's say, for example, there are other people. I was on one of the WhatsApp groups who were saying, no, in Europe, they've managed to manage the COVID-19 and they have started doing their business as usual in America. And then I was laughing and I was just talking to myself. Can you compare Zambia and Europe? Us are ever going with a begging bowl to these countries, asking them to support us in terms of health, in terms of economy, in terms of our environment and all that. We are ever going with a begging bowl. They can manufacture their own vaccines. We cannot. So they are able to manage the virus because they are able to manufacture. And even when they manufactured these vaccines, they first vaccinated their own people before they donated to Africa. You see, so there are these disparities that are there, that this is a global virus, but they first prioritize their people, and then they donated to Africa. And they've only donated one batch. There are people now in this country who have not vaccinated, who have been told, hold on, the remaining vaccines are for those that went for the first dose. So already it leaves this bracket of people at risk. Okay, and if we are not careful and we're just not following these guidelines as we are being advised by the experts, it means that this virus will ravage this country. So we don't have this capacity. We are ever begging, and we must also know that we are not an economy that would be able to manage COVID-19 the way our colleagues in the US have done or in Europe have done. So we must really be careful with what we say. Politicians, they must also know that they can be stubborn. Let them be stubborn. But they should know that when 5, 6, like what we've received, the statistics we've received, 48 today.
People died today.
Let us assume.
And what role can these leaders play?
Let us assume, Mr. Piri, that the 48 are from, say, the PF, or the 48 are from the UPND. So if those numbers would have reduced, in as much as you want people to vote for you, the numbers would have reduced.
You lose 48
You
votes.
lose 48 votes. You see, so we are not seeing all that. Secondly, the desire to save is to save humanity.
Sure.
Okay? And when there is a catastrophe or there is a virus like we have now, there is need for those who desire to save to begin to show leadership. Okay? Leave politics aside and look at the virus. This is a global issue. It's not an issue that has been made by the PF so that they can stay in power forever. No, this is a global issue. So we must be able to really sit and look at the issue and say, guys, politics aside, let us focus on how we can tell our people to protect themselves, how we can also even try and change. Say, for example, they want to do these roadshows and all that. Instead of making vitenges for campaigns, can we use these vitenges as face masks?
Right.
So we can give our people face masks. And that way, it will still be green, it will still be red, it will still be all these colors, blue, that we are seeing, it will still be that color. But all you have done is change the approach because you want to protect the people you desire to serve. But we are not seeing that. What we are seeing is arrogance and also a tit for tat, antagonist and protagonist. Others feel, no, we are being victimized, and this other one feels they are this. So we can't manage to live in a country like this, especially that we are all aiming to save a generation which is at risk with the virus. So we must begin to look at that realistically and really put politics aside. For me, I get disappointed really with how we approach things in this country. We want to bring propaganda around COVID-19. Really? We can't continue misinforming our people. We must give our people right information so that they know that there is COVID. Yes, there are elections, but there is COVID. Yeah. And when you die, even if I am a cadre, for example, I'm a cadre for Party B. If I insist to go around, I will insist to go around and maybe contract the virus and die. What would I have done? I would have reduced the numbers of people, foot soldiers or people who are helping to campaign. So there are a lot of risks that come with this virus than the advantages. So really our leaders, we call upon them, we call upon all leaders of political parties, including the church, including us in civil society organizations, to begin to really speak one voice over this matter. Otherwise, with these numbers, already now schools have been suspended for 2 weeks. For me, as an individual, as a Zambian, who has a daughter, who had a classmate testing positive, and my daughter missed school 3 days because we were now running around to have her tested, I can see how the virus is and how advanced this third wave is. So I'm speaking from an informed point. I'm not speaking from a person who feels that, no, I have been sent to do that. It is what I can see. I lost somebody I called an auntie. Okay. We were just burying yesterday, So we are seeing these things happening. So we can't really bury our heads in the sand and pretend that everything should be politics. And we cannot continue driving our people in a political realm. We must also begin to remain sober, look at things realistically, and also look at things with a focused way of doing things, because we cannot always have a short range of thinking, where we just want to, because we want to be in power, or because we want to get into power, we must. No, it is not we must. It is the people who must actually give you that opportunity to do that. And it is you to show leadership to protect the people that you want to vote for you.
In your organization, I know that there are a number of NGOs out there, that we have seen. And, suffice to mention that a number of these NGOs are moving up and about, sensitizing people on how to vote, who maybe, what kind of a leader they should vote for, and the likes, But when it comes to issues to deal with COVID-19, the most deadly pandemic that has befallen before us today, we seem to have less messages, apart from maybe one or two people that are going to come on TV sensitizing people. As African Direction, do you have such kind of maybe programs in your organization, maybe walking or moving from one place to another, sensitizing young people about the dangers of this COVID-19, apart from concentrating, in an election issue,
yes,
forgetting, the killer.
Yes, yes. So what we are doing as an organization with support from Elma Foundation, they give us a bit of money to address COVID-19. So you can imagine it's outsiders who are seeing the effects of how COVID-19 is. So we are doing sensitizations. So what we are doing is that we're not using our traditional sensitization where we are having physical meetings and also having community outreaches. So what we are doing is that we are using what we are calling mobile awareness raising using a peer system. Right. So we are going around with a megaphone just mentioning about issues to do with COVID, how they can protect themselves, and also we are also integrating information that is related to governance, is related to sexual reproductive health, because these are all our core areas of our work. So we don't want to just talk about COVID, but we are saying there is COVID, but you can still go if you have an STI or you want to have a service at the health facility, you can still go. They will still give you that.
It's a package.
It's a package, right. Yes. So we are saying you can stay home, still listen on radio, TV, and still make a choice on who you want to vote for. So you can't follow wherever people are going because you'll be
you might be affected
exactly.
As well. So let's just remind our viewers that you are watching a special interview live on Muvi TV from Zambia's capital city, Lusaka. My name is Innocent Piri, and of course my guest is Mark Chilongu, who happens to be African Direction Executive Director and also a governance activist or expert, who is here to discuss a number of issues, and of course we expect your contribution. Remember, the program is live on Ask Muvi, our official Facebook page, and as well as Africa Direction Facebook page as well is televising the program live. Let me get now to take it to that to another sector or another angle to deal with the election we're having on the 12th of August this year, and of course you are dealing with the young people. I want you to speak to the young people. How can they identify to say this is the right person I have to vote for? Because our politicians today are canvassing for votes, wanting to go to State House. Others want to remain in power as well. How can young people really identify to say, I think this is a person who means well for our country? Let's start from there before we get to the political violence.
Well, I think for all the young people actually watching us on Muvi TV, we've mentioned what is it that they are selling that will have a lasting impact on your life as a young person. In terms of youth unemployment, what are they saying? In terms of health, what are they saying? In terms of entrepreneurship, what are they saying? Socially, what are the principles, values are they selling to you so that you can say that these principles are the principles and values that I believe in and I should vote for them. Okay. If they are using violence, if they are using slogans, you must be able to think. You must be able to think twice, because you're not following a particular symbol. You're not following a particular slogan. You must follow the messages that these politicians are saying. What is it? Because whatever you do today will have a lasting impact for your own future. So in terms of enabling a level playing field for both the poor and the rich, what are they saying? Okay, so all these things you should be able to begin to think about it, so that when you are making a choice as a person, as a young person, you are informed and not just follow the wind or maybe follow what the slogans are. Our politicians must begin to do issue-based politics. A competition of ideologies and not a competition of feasting and picking up pangas and stones and all that. That's not what we want to see. And I'm very positive that that's not what our forefathers, those who fought for independence for this country, we have Dr. Kaunda, may he get well soon. These people dedicated themselves. And this is what young people must know now, that we had leaders who were very selfless, extremely selfless for this country to be where we are today. they never allowed any form of disturbances that would derail the progression of this country. And we will not sink so low to begin to entertain lawlessness, to begin to entertain violence, to begin to embrace all these things and think that it is part of our life. Young people today, you must know that it is not us. This is not who we are as a people. Based on our principles, based on what we've been taught. When you look at even when there was the establishment of the Ministry of Religious Affairs, their key role is to also provide guidance and also share with the current generation what our Zambian principles are and values are. Sure. But when you look at these principles and values and what we are doing, complete in contrast. So that shows that there's something wrong that we are not doing in terms of leadership. Okay, whether political leadership, whether religious leadership, whether it is us in the civil society, whether it is those in communities, there is something wrong that we are not doing. And we must begin to interrogate and also see, take a retrospection and see what is it that
when
we are
you talk
doing.
about political violence, what do you think could be the cause? Who is to blame for this political violence, really, as we go?
Well, it is us, the people, to blame.
Right.
That's my opinion. It is us, the people, to blame because, one, we have allowed ourselves to be used. Okay, we've allowed ourselves to be used by politicians for them just because of their insatiable appetite for power. Okay, we have also allowed levels of illiteracy, okay, to take over certain critical positions of power. Okay, so we must begin to look at that as a people and see what is it that we can do, because we all have a choice to make at an individual level. If I don't want to find myself in the levels of lawlessness, we should be able to do that. But also our politicians must know that the money they give to these cadres, they have the responsibility to inculcate the values and principles for this country and not violence. Because it is them who will be held responsible because they are the ones who are allowing these things to happen. And if they are not condemning the violence, if they are not condemning these high levels of lawlessness, then it means that they themselves are violent and they are allowing these things to happen. And we, the people, are not happy that we are not seeing our leaders not condemning violence.
We have to go, Mr. Chilongu, but I'll ask you just maybe under 15 seconds. That will be your closing remarks with regards to the cancellation of the rallies, by the UPND as well as the PF, Lusaka, Nakonde, Namwala, as well as Mpulungu. What could be your position? Just as we go now. It's a welcome
position. And I think for me, I feel ECZ has shown a little bit of teeth this time around. It's a welcome move, and it is up to the political parties affected to take a retrospection, to also think about how they are doing their politics and really get back to doing politics that will sell ideas, the politics of ideologies. And for as long as all of us stand against this violence, I want to assure the viewers out there that there is nothing that we cannot do. But we can do everything together, including standing up against violence. All of us, we must condemn it, and we must ensure that we all show that this is not the Zambia we want. The Zambia we want is a Zambia where everyone should thrive, because we have opportunities for everyone to thrive. We have opportunities for everyone to play their role in contributing to the development of this country in a harmonious way. Right. And we must ensure that we do that and we inculcate that in our people, so that our people should know that we are not a Zambia of violence. We are not a Zambia who carry a barrel of the gun to get into power. Right. The only way to get into power is through the ballot. And we, the people, have the power to cast the vote so that we can put in leaders that we want, those leaders that are going to help us to be what we want to be.
Allow me to thank you so much, Mr. Chilongu, for coming to Muvi TV. We hope to call you. And once more, allow me to appreciate you for giving that direction to the young people, as well as our leaders in power, and also our leaders in the opposition, not forgetting those in your sector, the NGO sector. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, I really appreciate. I'm grateful to Muvi TV, and I think this is a rare opportunity. And I want to encourage Muvi TV because some of us are products of Muvi TV. We are proud of that, and we want just to encourage you to continue doing the good work that you're doing, but also continue contributing to sensitizing our people over this virus that has ravaged our country.
Sure. Audio viewers, we end our discussion here. My guest has been Mark Chilongu, coming from the Africa Directions, who is the Executive Director and also a governance expert. My name is Innocent Piri. Allow me to appreciate my camera person, Christopher, and also the entire production team upstairs, Gabriel Nyirenda, and also Gabriel Mlenga, rather, and also Ashbel, the young man coming from Kalingalinga. Thank you so much. The people of Zambia, we appreciate you. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.